episode number 96 of the Cozy Corner of Cinema, being recorded on Friday, January 26th, 2024 at 4:13 p.m. I hope you guys have been having an extraordinary week, an extraordinary day, extraordinary month, an extraordinary year so far, working on your projects, working on your goals, making the most of every day that's given to us. Every day is such a blessing, and no day is guaranteed. So it's just so great to wake up in the morning and just, get ready to do whatever it is we got to do. Working on your novel or your film or your music album or your painting or any of your artistic and creative endeavors. It's just so wonderful to be given the opportunity every single day. Some days you have more abilities and time than others, than other previous days, I should say. And then some days you just go right into it. It's just fantastic, It's just been great using this time to just stay inside, get the work done, get the job done. I got a great batch of writing done these past couple of days. I'm just about finished with this current novel, and it's just such a great feeling to really just be, standing tall with your feet on the ground, ready to take on whatever is gonna come your way, man. It's just sort of like, you forget how quick we're here on this earth, and just how easy it is to lose hindsight and to lose life's narrative. But if we stay focused and we have our goals in sight and really aim to achieve those goals, then I tell you, we're gonna have a really good life, man. It's 4 in the afternoon now. I'm drinking this delicious root beer. I don't normally drink a lot of cola, only in certain situations, but my gosh, I'm trying to wake myself up, and I figured this is probably faster than making a coffee, even though it is quite a bit chilly, I gotta say. But you don't want to have too much caffeine, too much sugar, especially if you're sitting down all day reading or watching a film. You're not going for walks, you're not, keeping your body moving and all that, exercising and all that. The next thing you know, it's just like, man, what the hell? Everything hurts, It's like, brother, it's why you gotta get up off that chair, man, and make your body moving, man. I guess it's hypocritical for me to say while I'm sitting down recording this, but, you get the idea. So, hey, man, it's great. The Academy Award nominations were released this past week, this past Tuesday, the 23rd, and it's just been great to see, what films got nominated and having enjoyable discussions on, films that got nominated, films that didn't get nominated, films in the contemporary repertoire. Films being brought up, people going, oh, I've been hearing good things about that, I haven't seen that yet, or oh, I'm not familiar with that film, I gotta check it out. And it's funny, I was looking at just the Best Picture nominees, and I was talking to a couple acquaintances. They were saying, talking about some actors who didn't get nominated, and I realized at that point, I'm like, I didn't even really look over who got nominated for anything else. I was just looking at Best Picture, so I didn't even know who was nominated for Best Actor or actress or any of that other stuff, which is as important, but, it's the one that's the Best Picture. That's the one that everybody has their eyes focused on, and, it's just great. And I've actually seen all 10 of the Best Picture nominees, and last year I talked about 9 out of 10 of them, because there was one I hadn't seen, and still haven't seen, but I have seen all 10 here, so I figured briefly talk about each one of these. I'm not going to go too in-depth on them, because each one of these films has been put into a spotlight now, because, hey, these are the Best Picture nominations. These are the films that you're going to want on your radar. If you haven't viewed these, you're going to want to view this one, or this one, or this one, so it's just great. So let me get another sip here, and I guess we'll just talk about the first one here. I'll go in alphabetical order, as is listed here. Let's see. First up, American Fiction. Written and directed by Cord Jefferson, and also co-written by Percival Everett. This film, and I'm not going to go too much into the plots of these films. I don't want to be too redundant and waste too much time, but Jeffrey Wright, in this film, he's playing a disgruntled writer. I love films about writers. I love films about people who are just going through a creative lull in their lives, man. They really just got to get out of this funk. And Jeffrey Wright, he's a novelist, but he is having his own kind of issues with some of the novels of contemporary black culture that he finds kind of puts black people down and stuff. And there's this one novel written by this actor Issa Rae, and she wrote this popular book, but it's very urban, and she's kind of playing with a lot of stereotypes that he doesn't like, and he gets frustrated. Basically, he's brought home for a family situation, and one night he's like, you know what, man, I've been drinking. I'm gonna write this ridiculous nonsense, stereotypical kind of urban novel, just to shove it in their face and say this is the kind of the trite, writings you want. This is the kind of trite writings you're going to get. And lo and behold, it becomes a huge success. They're saying this is exactly what we want. And he is dumbfounded. He's using an alias, and then they're making up all these things. And you know what I like about the film so much is that is the main plot of the film, is kind of this character dealing with this creative lull in his life. And that would have been fine on its own, because there are plenty of great sequences poking fun at kind of the ridiculous nature of it all. He has to play this kind of this caricature of himself. They're saying, "Oh, you can't meet him. He's on the run, and everybody's after him." And it's just, there's some great gags like that. But I think where the film is really strongest is really with the characters, man. Jeffrey Wright is really phenomenal in this film, as well as Sterling K. Brown, who plays his brother in the film. They have a great back and forth, and Sterling Brown shows up here and there in the film. Some of the other characters include John Ortiz, who has a really good role in the film. Tracy Ellis Ross, who's in the film for a while. And what it really comes down to is that it could have easily sort of fell back on a lot of the big kind of obvious statements to make. It still would have been enjoyable, but what I like so much about the film is that it goes that extra step, that you have these really interesting relationships with these characters. I don't want to get too much into the specifics. If I really had one only real complaint about the film, is that it's something that happens that in the first act, and it really kind of goes away fast. I'm thinking, oh man, this is a real dent in the character's kind of life. How are they going to deal with this? And it's just sort of like, after a couple scenes later, you forget that even happened. I'm just like, brother, what's going on here? And in a film like this, hey, he's single, and the woman across the street, hey, she also happens to be single and around his age, and you can forgive it. I mean, films are built on, for a lot of the times, coincidences and having to get characters in a certain place. I will say that there was a film that I had seen recently that was making me laugh, and I won't say the name of the film because actually it wasn't a bad film, but I wasn't crazy about it. I don't like to dog on films either, but I thought it was funny in comparison. Now, I'm trying to be kind of vague in case people know what film it is or not. But you have this character who is almost entirely by himself. There's no one else around, but lo and behold, there is another character who is also single, who is also gay, who is also his same similar age range. And I went, my God, man, this guy should play the lottery or buy some scratch tickets, because what kind of freaking coincidence is that, man? It was so ridiculous and so unbelievable that I was waiting for the hat to drop that something else is going on, and it never did. And I thought, gosh, that is just such. Man, I don't want to dog in the film. I don't want to dog in any film. I mean, I'd rather, if you're gonna lend me your ears for 30 minutes, I want to turn you guys on to some good films. But I'm just saying that's just so what not to do, man. Whereas a case like this, it's more believable because we are in a town, but you enjoy the characters so much that you're able to get past the coincidence. But really just a funny, enjoyable film. I thought this was really terrific. Definitely deserving of the Best Picture nomination. Moving on from there, the Palme d'Or winner. Really terrific film as well. Anatomy of a Fall, written and directed by Justine Triet and co-written by Arthur Harari. I'm not good with names. Starring Sandra Hüller, who I've mentioned on the show before, has become just a really terrific actor in many films I've seen of hers, including I'm Your Man and In the Aisles. She's really terrific, different kind of roles in both those films. This plays out like a great mystery of her husband, who is found dead at their lodge, and you gotta they got to figure out whether or not it was a suicide, or whether Sandra, main character, played by Sandra Hüller, had anything to do with it, if it was a possible murder. And it plays as equal part of mystery as it does a courtroom drama. And really engaging courtroom drama, too. This film is about 2.5 hours, but it's so engaging, man. Now, with this film, you got to my only real complaint with the film, and I'm talking about a big complaint, there is a moment in this film where they have to get exposition out. And the only way they do it is they explain it in the most ridiculous way of having a recording that just so happened to be there. And I said, are you kidding me, man? This character should play the lottery, you get some scratch tickets. What kind of exposition is this, man, where it's just, wow, you got it at the right place at the right time. And I said, are you kidding me on this? Now, that's my only real complaint, because this is so wonderfully made, it's so engaging, and I'm unfamiliar with the actor. I apologize, I don't know his name, but the actor who plays the other lawyer has a great back and forth between him and Sandra Hüller. And I do apologize. I wish I had that actor's name here, but he's so good in the film, and the son as well adds a mix to the complications of this all. Just a really solid, engaging mystery courtroom drama. Great performance by Sandra Hüller. I believe she may have actually been nominated as well for Best Actress. You think I should probably look these up and not make generalized statements, but at least I would assume she did. Let's go look at the time here. Make sure I'm not going over my allotted time. So okay, got 10 minutes there. Actress. She was nominated. Very cool. All right. Very, very cool. Let me get another sip of this beverage here. All right, third film up. I'm going to try to not rush through these, but I realize I just spent 5 minutes with both those films, so I'm not going to have enough time to get through all these. So I'm going to have to rush through maybe a couple of these. Not be as in-depth as I would have liked. But third film, box office titan of the year. Probably one of the highest grossing films of the year domestically. Greta Gerwig. Written and directed by Greta Gerwig and co-written by Noah Baumbach is Barbie, with Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Issa Rae again from American Fiction, and who is that actor? What the hell is her name? America Ferrera, I think is her name. It's not coming up here. I think it's going by appearance in the film. But yes, most talked about film of the year, I would say. Barbie. I don't even think I need to go too much into depth with this. This has been very talked about. It made a lot of money at the box office, and I got to say, the production design on this is fantastic. I mean, just looking at all the sets in this, when they're in the Barbie world early on in the first 30 minutes, it all looks like a different world. So when Barbie and Ken go into our world, the real world, it actually feels like they're coming into another world. It's so well done, and the costume design as well, absolutely fantastic. I loved all of Barbie's different dresses. When she goes to the real world, she's wearing this cowboy suit. Ken has this ridiculous getup, and it's so enjoyable in that aspect. I will say, I think there's a lot of this film that I do like a lot, but there's a lot. I mean, this is a populist film. This is a very big Hollywood film, and because of that, the script is designed that it needs to appeal to everybody. You can't have any ambiguities. You can't have any subtleties. In terms of getting your point across in the film. And I think that's where my issue kind of lies with the film, is that the script is not that good. It's just very big. Like I said, there's no subtlety. Even the plot structure of it is very awkward. We're getting to the third act, and they almost have to rush through it. They have this ridiculous dance number, which doesn't serve any kind of function to the plot. You're going through this dance number, and then they're just rushing through the end. It's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I didn't really get a whole lot out of this film, man. I mean, I could see just the hard work put on display here. I got a lot of laughs in the film, a lot of laugh out loud moments in the film, and I'm seeing this film by myself, so that's always a good mark of whether or not a film is actually funny or not. If you're seeing it by yourself and laughing out loud. I mean, I did see this theatrically about a month or two after it had been released, but I wasn't. There's a lot of things I like about the film, but I think there's a lot that's just wasn't done very well. I think it's a very broad film. It's a very Hollywood film, and I putting it amongst these other films, this seems kind of out of place to me. This is, besides the Greta Gerwig does a solid job directing. Everything, the sets look great. Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling are both very good in the film. All the acting is good. I think really just my issue is with the script. It's just very there's not a lot of subtlety in this, and I think when it came to the whole Barbie Oppenheimer thing, I kind of look at two sides of the coin on how these films kind of treat and trust the audience, of having to tell you what the point of the film is, while the other is trusting a little bit more. And it's a different kind of film. Obviously, one's a historical drama, one's a light kind of comedy. But it just wasn't really for me. But The Holdovers, Alexander Payne's new film. I think I talked about this briefly on the show. Wonderful, wonderful film. This was one of the strongest films I've seen this year. Directed by Alexander Payne, written by David Hemmingson, and I think I've now seen all of Alexander Payne's directed feature films. Let me go through the list here. Making sure... sorry about that. Making sure I have time on here. Alright, I got time. What the hell? I've not seen The Passion of Martin. I've not seen Citizen Ruth. I've seen Election. I've seen About Schmidt. I've seen Sideways. I'm not counting Paris, I Love You. That's an anthology. I've seen The Descendants. I've seen Nebraska. I've seen Downsizing. And I've seen The Holdovers. And I said it when I initially saw it. So I think this was my favorite of his work since Sideways. And I still stand true to that. I haven't seen Nebraska in quite some time, but I remember being a really big fan of that film. A wonderful comedy drama. Paul Giamatti, Davine Joy Randolph, and Dominic Sessa all just play so great off each other. There's the three of them are just kind of left as Angus is this kid whose ma won't come pick him up, and he's just stuck at this college with Paul Giamatti, who people don't really like. He's sort of a pain, but they all start to grow with each other in not a cliched way. There's more complexities to the characters. Divine, I don't know how to say her name, Divine Joy Randolph, that's one of the strongest sequences in the film. There's a great sequence at a party, who the other actor, I want to get his name, Naheem Garcia plays Danny, who's a janitor. They have a really great emotional scene at this party that's so well done. I mean, I don't remember if I talked about this more on the show or not, but what a wonderful, touching, just heartfelt, hilarious and dramatic, but such a great film, man. One of the strongest of 2023, definitely, and one of the strongest in Alexander Payne's filmography. This is now streaming on Peacock, by the way, so if you're interested in watching it, there is that. Killers of the Flower Moon. I gotta kind of rush through these now. I spent too much time on them. Killers of the Flower Moon. Martin Scorsese's brand new film, based off the book. Actually, let me get that name up here. Killers of the Flower Moon. Also now on Apple, I gotta say. Directed by Martin Scorsese. Written by Martin Scorsese, Eric Roth, and David Grant. Oh, I think one of them may have written the book this was based off of, so I want to make sure I get that correct. But again, and when I'm talking about this, okay, David Grant did write the book that this was based off of. What I'm saying, again, with this film and a film like Oppenheimer is that we're just so lucky and fortunate to be able to exist at a time when amidst the spectacle films that flood contemporary theatrical cinemas, we get films like Killers of the Flower Moon and Oppenheimer, films with true artistry made by filmmakers who can command budgets and stars of this size. This is just such a terrific saga of just this town that is systematically getting rid of these Native Americans that are there because of the oil on the land. We follow main character Ernest Burkhart, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who is something of a simpleton, and he forms a relationship with Molly Burkhart, played by the wonderful Lily Gladstone in this, and they have a great back and forth. I keep saying that, but it really is true. Robert De Niro's in the film as well, playing William Hale, and the complicated relationship he has with him and Ernest. And it's just a great saga of a film. It comes in at about 3.5 hours, but I can confidently say I was engaged for the entirety of it. I've only seen it once theatrically. It's just on Apple now, so I would like to rewatch this, absolutely. This is a film that I think you gotta let sit with you for a while, because there is so much film, there is so much character, so much story, that I'll be the first to admit that I did get a little lost with some of the character connections in this, but it's just so great that we're still getting just brilliant works like this from Scorsese. A terrific film, and I really hope this does get a physical release as well. I know that I could see this getting a Criterion with, since The Irishman got a Criterion and all that, and Scorsese does so much work with them. It's just great. Maestro. Pull that up here. Maestro. Starring, written and directed by Bradley Cooper, co-written by Josh Singer, starring Bradley Cooper, Carey Mulligan, as Bradley Cooper's playing Leonard Bernstein, and we follow his life up to a certain point. He wants to be a composer. He gets a call one day, hey, if you're prepared, you can get down here right now. You can compose this orchestra, and you better believe he jumps out of bed, he runs out the house, and he commands the orchestra and cements his legacy as one of the greatest composers of all time. And this is a film that you see Bradley Cooper's dedication. You see just how much research he went into this, the costume design, the set design. You can see the real love he has for Leonard Bernstein. And I think that is maybe stronger than the film quality itself. There's a lot to be admired with the film, but I do think that it doesn't totally work for me. The first 30 minutes were nauseating, man. It was the same issue I had with The Fabelmans, and the same issue I have with a lot of films where when actors are playing characters from a certain period of time, they feel like they have to act like a character in a 40s film at that time. Everybody's playing it so big, and it's just like, it doesn't even feel like real people. They feel like caricatures. And while I like The Fabelmans to a certain extent, that was my biggest problem with the film, is that it doesn't feel like anyone is a real person in that film. Everyone's playing it like they're Cary Grant. It's just ridiculous. It's nonsense. And I had that problem with this here, and I'm sitting in the cinema. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this going to be the film? Am I gonna have to sit here for 2 hours and watch this cartoon portrayal of all these people? I'm happy to say that it does get better. The strongest part of the film is Leonard and Felicia's relationship and the troubles they have. Leonard's messing around with other dudes, and Felicia is trying to stay faithful to him, but she has her own kind of complications, and they're pursuing their own kind of careers. You can see the heart, you can see the passion that Bradley Cooper put into it. I just don't think it totally works for me. I think the camera work is a little bit too showy and a little bit too big for this. Like I was saying before, there's not a lot of... There's times where there are very quiet, subtle moments. There's a really great moment, actually, at the end of the film with Carey Mulligan's character in bed. That's very well done. But I just didn't totally connect with this film. But it's not a bad film by any means. It's very well done. You see the chemistry, you see the heart, the passion. It wasn't totally invested in the film, but not bad. Definitely not bad. Oppenheimer, I'll be brief about because I've talked about it on the show. I mean, this was the best film of 2023, undoubtedly, in my opinion. Christopher Nolan I don't want to use the M word because it's just still so brand new, but I think of all his films, I think this is the one that more so than the Batman films or Inception or anything like that. I think this is the one where you see a filmmaker over time just building to his magnum opus. And even though I love Tenet, I love Dunkirk. Actually, Dunkirk's probably my favorite of his work, but I love Dunkirk, I love Interstellar, that's all great. But with Oppenheimer, he's taking a 3-hour historical R-rated epic and making a film truly for adults. This is not a spectacle film like many people probably wished it was. This is far more of a character film of characters debating the moral conundrum of the situation that they're in, what it means to be a patriot, what it means to turn your back on your country, if you should. There's a great moment in the film when... in the last act, when Einstein is talking to Robert about how he had to leave Germany amidst, with the rising of the Third Reich, and just a smart, the score as well by Ludwig. I want to make sure I get his name because he did the score as well for Tenet, which was just a brilliant score for that film. Let me get the name here, Ludwig Göransson. And there's also a great hour making of on the Blu-ray of this film that I'd recommend watching as well. I mean, there was nothing even close to this film in my opinion for 2023. This is a film I've seen a couple times now. Was fortunate enough to see it on IMAX 70mm, and this is just truly one of the highlights of the 21st century so far, which is such a ridiculous and grand statement to make, but every time I've watched this film, I'm just like, wow, man, this is cinema right here. This is true cinema. Past Lives, what a great way to see that this was getting nominated. I saw this in the middle of the year, and this got a lot of critical acclaim, but kind of came and went. I didn't hear a whole lot of talk about it. This was written and directed by Celine Song, starring Greta Lee, T.U., and John Magaro. A great, spanning, complicated, possible relationship between these two characters from a young age. Nora, played by Greta Lee, and Hae Sung, played by T.O.U. When they're children, to when they go away, they come back at another point, and then they come back at another point, and the complicated relationship that is there. What I like about the film so much is that, like I said before, I mean, this is a film truly made for adults. The awkward character moments in this, where we have Arthur, played by John Magaro, who... he's aware that, Hae Sung is coming back into her life, and she's trying to tell him, like, no, this is just an old thing. I'm still in love with you, but he's still feeling like on the outside. And when you get to the third act of just some moments in there are just so heartfelt, so touching. I mean, I don't know who distributed this. Was this A24? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was. I mean, this is, if someone was like, hey, man, top 5 strongest A24 films. I probably couldn't give you a top 5 because a couple are coming to my mind, but Past Lives is up there. I think this is actually a brilliant film, and it was just so great to see this nominated for Best Picture, because for people who maybe skipped out on it, this will give a little bit more attention to it. Second to last, actually, we're making good time here. I am kind of rushing through this, I keep saying, but because I can't go too in depth on a lot of these, but I do want to mention them. Yorgos Lanthimos' new film, written by Tony McNamara and Alistair Gray, Poor Things, starring Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, Willem Dafoe, Yemi Youssef, and I was surprised, and it was cool to see Catherine Hunter in the film. You may remember her as one of the witches, or the main witch from The Tragedy of Macbeth. When she pops up in the second half of this film, I was like, yeah, that's great. She's in the film. That's fantastic. Along with Margaret Qualley and Christopher Abbott, who were in the film Sanctuary earlier this year, which was an interesting film as well. A great sort of Frankenstein sort of story. Willem Dafoe plays this doctor who's able to bring Emma Stone back to life, and she has some cognitive issues. Her brain is slowly developing, and Willem Dafoe takes student Yemi Youssef under his wing to kind of observe and see this character and the complications that arise when this character Duncan, played by Mark Ruffalo, comes in and wants to take advantage of her. And then from there, it's the whole new world of Bella Baxter discovering herself, discovering what it means to be human. And I'll be upfront, and I'll say this isn't one of my favorite Yorgos films, but my gosh, like I was saying before, it's so great. We get new films from Yorgos Lanthimos because the pure imagination and creativity that goes into every single frame of this film is something to be marveled at. Because with this film, I feel like my main thing is that I'm kind of similar on this that I was to The Lobster, where I think the first act of the film is all great. It was actually all the stuff early on in the mansion with the three characters was all like some of Yorgos' best stuff. Where the film does lose me a little bit is when they leave, when Emma Stone goes off into the other world. I think that stuff is good in its own right, but whenever it would cut back to Willem Dafoe and Rami Youssef, that was where I found the most interesting stuff, and I wish that we spent more time with those characters. But costume design, set design, there's a lot of humor in this film. I can't say his name right. Rami Youssef has one line in the film that made me laugh so hard, and I was the only person who laughed in the theater at this. And my gosh, man, I didn't even feel bad. I had a hard belly laugh that caught me off guard. No one else in the theater laughed, and it was like, man, they got me. But it's a wonderful film as well. I think my major problem when it comes to like the third act is like the film is wrapping up, and I'm like, okay, this film's wrapping up, and then it introduces another character, and I'm like, my God, man, we're getting to the same conclusion. Why are we putting this character in this film? And then it goes on for like 20 minutes, and I'm like, man, what are we doing here? But the ending is great. To me, I've heard comparisons of this to Barbie in terms of some of its messages, and where this film exceeds and Barbie doesn't is trusting the audience and the message of the film to get to the point of what it's trying to say. And this does it so wonderfully. And it's a film that my opinion has gone up since I've seen it. I'm very interested in watching it again at some point. But this is a very good film as well. And Yorgos Lanthimos, I mean, just great to have a new film by him. And last one, gotta wrap this up quick. Zone of Interest, Jonathan Glazer's brand new spanking film. First film of his in 10 years. The last film of his was the brilliant Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson. This is written and directed by Jonathan Glazer, co-written by Martin Amis, starring, once again, Sandra Hüller from Anatomy of a Fall, as well as this fella, what the hell's his name? Christian Friedel, playing this character, Rudolf Hoss. And, it's a great film. It's a really solid film as well. I mean, I don't know how much plot you really want to give away of this, because it's less about the plot and more about the situation. But it's these characters who are living right... I don't know if they were outside or if they were right in Auschwitz. I couldn't exactly tell, but they're surrounded by the camps, by the gas chambers. There's constantly something happening, and when you watch this film, listen to the sound design. There's almost no moments in the film with true silence, because you hear a kind of rumbling underneath, like in Irreversible. Not quite as extreme as that rumbling, but just a sort of like in the background. It's very subtle. You need to turn up your TV or whatever. But it is a really solid film. There's always this sense of danger and commotion. There's always a baby crying or a scream in the distance, or there's always something happening. And I will say as well, the ending of this is really great as well, what they decide to do. It's a film that takes its time, and I think for the most part that works. I do think it drags a little bit in the third act when one of the characters goes off to a different point and starts interacting with other characters. That's maybe the only part of the film that I thought really kind of faltered and didn't really totally work for me, but the ending is great and it all comes together very well. I mean, we have we have such terrific filmmakers here, man. We have Jonathan Glazer and Martin Scorsese, and it's just so great to see these films and just see the true kind of artistry that they bring to it, just really making the art of film something far bigger than just a casual event to go eat, greasy food and then go home and then, forget all about it. It's just these just wonderful films, and I gotta rush this because I'm running out of time, so let's talk about some films, but obviously I don't have that kind of time, so thank you guys for listening. See where some of these films are available. We'll come back when the Oscars are on, and we'll talk about some of it. Who won, who lost, maybe. I don't know. I'm really interested in Best Picture, to be honest. But, alright, that's all I got. Thank you guys so much for listening. Follow your dreams. The day is yours. Seize the day. God bless. All that good stuff.